ever since John Calvin had moved the seat of the papacy to Geneva and set up the constitutional court of discipline. The church's power over every aspect of life had been absolute. The papacy itself had been abolished after Calvin's death, and a tangle of courts, colleges, and councils, collectively known as the magisterium, had grown up in its place. These agencies were not always united. Sometimes a bitter rivalry grew up between them. For a large part of the previous century, the most powerful had been the College of Bishops, but in recent years, the Constitutional Court of Discipline had taken its place as the most active and most feared of all the Church's bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Corione, your witch in residence here on YouTube, and today I want to talk about the Golden Compass. Now, before I get too deep in, I just want to say thank you all for the 1,100 subscribers that have decided to call this little piece of YouTube your respite from your daily grind. I really appreciate it. Now we just need to work on watch hours, and this channel will be monetized, and I can put way more resources into providing you guys with what you seem to like. So with that obligatory ritual out of the way, let's dive deep into the Golden Compass. Now, when I read the Golden Compass, there are some pieces I have a little bit of an issue with. The book has a very directed anti-theist tone to it. And in some ways, I understand that. And I even respect it a little bit. Because it's looking at organized religion only. And I can understand the problems people have with organized religion, because with organized religion, we get bureaucracies. And ultimately, I think true spiritual growth through a religion is choked to death by the bureaucracy that can grow up around it. Now, I'm not going to call out any specific religion here. Everybody's beliefs are valid. Everybody's beliefs are justified. But what I do want to talk about is when bureaucracies get involved. And that means I'm going to wind up inadvertently making allegories to some of the bigger religions. And I want to make it clear that my view on those religions has always been that they, in their books, in their writings, are generally beautiful expressions of faith and the concept that we should be kind to each other. The problem is that when we start rules lawyering that concept and we build bureaucracies to require that of people, that it loses its inherent message. My belief has always been that before all other things, one must attempt to be kind to others. Okay? That includes the self too, right? We cannot be kind to others unless we are also kind to ourselves. And that is unbelievably important, to take that time. And to remember that intense organizations, intense bureaucracies will start to try to impose how to be nice to each other. And that's the danger. Because there can be no rule book for how one is kind to another human being. It just doesn't work. Okay? Situations change, cultures change. What is considered kind in one culture can be horrifyingly rude to another. Let me give you an example. Okay? In my culture, the woman is the mistress of the house. She is its owner, its caretaker, the person who is in charge of it. And traditionally, her partner is the provider for that house. That is his reserved and honorable position. But ultimately, she is the one who decides who is a guest, who is not. She is the one who decides how one is to be treated kindly in her presence. And in fact, actually, in Norse culture, it's actually traditional that the way a divorce would happen would be the woman would leave her husband's shoes outside of the house, basically kick his shoes out the door. So imagine, if you will, a situation where in a pagan household in walked a couple of Orthodox Jewish people, where for the male it is considered inappropriate for them to address another man's wife directly, because they want to seem kind and do not want to give the appearance of some sort of impropriety. They would not speak to the matron of the house. Now, to an outside observer, this can look like a standard operating procedure, but both sides are feeling slighted in a lot of ways. The Orthodox Jewish family is feeling unnerved because a woman is taking the forward momentum in all the acts inside the household. And the pagan household is feeling quite put back that they will not acknowledge the woman of the house. But both are trying to be kind. And so it's important to find those middle grounds. It's important to not let dogmas push people into positions of unkindness, but rather the opposite. We should be striving towards looking at a situation, acknowledging that there are changes and challenges that have to be observed, but the concept of kindness above all shall reign. And so accommodations are made as best people are able. Okay? That would be the most correct way to deal with things, in my opinion. But when we start imposing rules and organizations to enforce those rules, and organizations to oversee those that enforce those rules, we allow rules to take place instead of the guidelines that they are meant to be. At least that is, in my opinion, how it goes. And we see that beautifully in the Golden Compass. They are afraid of people being allowed to interpret what kindness is for themselves and what innocence is for themselves. So they remove what effectively amounts to the spirit of a person to prevent them from having to make those sort of choices and decisions. It is, in its own way, these adults trying to save these kids from a terrible perception that they have. It would be a kindness as far as they're concerned. But to the kids, of course, this is horribly wrong, and that the kindness would be to allow them to be free and wild. So we must consider these things. We must ask ourselves, what is the kindest thing I can do in this moment? And then act from that place. If we do that, if we behave in a way that we would find we would want to be treated if the situation was reversed, and we are open to communicating and saying things like, I want to treat you right. I want to show you the respect that a fellow human is due. What can I do that is kindness towards you? And then going from there and negotiating and discussing these things, we can all move together. We can all say, look, my holy book teach that this is how I am to be kind to you. If this makes you uncomfortable, let us find common ground. Imagine how many problems, how many miscommunications we could avoid by simply saying that we are open to the possibility that because of where we come from, we could miscommunicate. And therefore, we want to, on an individual basis, be kind, right? If we asked someone how they preferred to be addressed, instead of demanding they speak out to everyone in attendance how they demand to be addressed, think of how many problems we could have solved in the last 5 years, right? If we were to say something along the lines of, I acknowledge that there are rules the universe has to, or that we have to follow in order to behave in a society. I disagree with some of these rules, and I would like to find compromise and active change that benefits everyone. Imagine how much more wonderful the universe would be. I often think about that when I start thinking about the modern troubles that we have all seen and experienced in the last 3 or 4 years. I often think about it in times when we are seeing companies now being forced to dramatically backpedal in the face of a community that has decided that what they feel is kind is not representative of what the consumer wants, and that what we want is to be treated fairly, to treat others fairly, and have everyone see reason and common ground and enjoy the time we get together. So, with that in mind, I'd like to propose a little bit of homework. I would like to propose that we each, in the comments, discuss what kindness means to you. What is the kindest thing you can imagine another human being doing for you today? And perhaps, if it is within our power after we read those comments, perhaps we could see about doing them for each other. Just to try to build a more wonderful world. And then maybe we can share that message out of, let's just try to be kind to each other. Let's just everybody be cool for like 10 minutes and see how it plays out. I think it'll lead to a better world. I think it'll lead to better interactions with people, especially people who are having a lot of hurt right now and may not be ready to deal with that hurt in a public way. Just hearing that people want to be kind to them, that people want to be decent to them, I think could go a long way. And I want to do that for you guys as well. So if there's something that I can do from my position as the guy you listen to despite him being kind of weird, tell me, and I will try to make that happen for you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody who's participated in the last week. We've had a lot of crazy ups and downs on this channel and others. And I wanted to say how wonderful you guys have all been through it, and I really appreciate it. And thank you once again. I'm going to leave it off here. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.